We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM, KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and now, the World Broadcasting Tag Team Champions of the World and the Cruiserweight Champion.
I'm Ethan.
I'm James.
I'm Rob.
And this is episode 133 of Beyond the Ropes. Of course, I am your host, Ethan, joined alongside the analyst James Williams, and of course, producer Rob Flores. James, you were making a face right now. What's going on here?
Because I'm like, I know he's not going to say 1-0 or 130, whatever, 133. Because I thought he said that last week.
No, I said 132. Right? It was 132. I just checked the Facebook page right now as I was saying it. It was 132 last week.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 133.
Come on. Say professional, James. Come on.
I just wasn't sure. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just like.
It's all right. It's a packed episode today.
I know.
It's a packed episode. We got a lot to discuss. So let's quickly get over the social media stuff. Facebook.com/Beyond the Ropes. That's where I found the latest episode of Beyond the Ropes. Episode 132 is currently uploaded there. And all previous episodes are uploaded there. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at RealBTRRadio. And of course, you can follow me individually at EthanNB95. You can follow James at
JHW Reporter.
And you can follow Rob at
Rob Flores Media. For some reason, my superpowers don't work today.
No, you're actually normal. You look. There you go. You look fine. Of course, YouTube. Just search up Beyond the Ropes, and you'll find all 132 episodes currently uploaded there today. Packed episode. Let's start with NXT since it literally just finished minutes ago as we're recording this. It kicked off with two big announcements coming from General Manager William Regal. The first one was the announcement of the next NXT TakeOver event, NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, which will be the first ever two-night NXT TakeOver special starting Wednesday on the USA Network and Thursday exclusively on Peacock. That's right. So it's going to be a big week. Don't roll your eyes, James. I don't know why you're rolling your eyes. Look, they got to get those Peacock subs somehow. Okay, they got to get them. So,
yeah. What is it going to be, an hour long each?
Well, no, USA Network's typical 2-hour show.
But that's what I'm saying. So what are they all going to do? I mean, a normal one-day show is what, 3 hours?
Almost. Sometimes less, sometimes more. Depends.
And it's not like they have a bajillion storylines to do.
Well, I don't know about that because they some stuff today.
Okay.
We'll talk more about that, especially because the next announcement, they build an entirely new division. That's right, the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships are officially a thing now. So there you go. There's another set of matches there to build for TakeOver. And it was announced that the first ever NXT Women's Tag Team Champions would be Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai after winning the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. However, they ended up defending those titles tonight as well, just about 30 minutes later against the team of Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. And we'll get into that in just a few minutes. But yeah, two major announcements. Let's talk about specifically the TakeOver Stand and Deliver announcement. The first ever two-night TakeOver. Of course, like I mentioned, the first night will take place traditionally on NXT's Wednesday night spot. It'll be at least 2 hours. I don't know if they're going to go longer than that. But their second night will be featured on the Peacock app, of course, NBC's streaming service. They will be on the network for everywhere else, around the world. But for us here in the United States, we do have to get the Peacock app to watch that second half of the TakeOver event. And as I mentioned, we'll talk a little bit more about potential matches happening on that show because they were building a lot of different stories here tonight. Yeah, so what are your thoughts, I guess, on TakeOver, specifically. I know you just mentioned that you weren't too happy about it, but it's a big deal. It's a WrestleMania week event. They've seemingly got a show for every day of the week that week. We'll talk about that right now, because Tuesday just got billed as well, as announced this morning. But yeah, Wednesday and Thursday night takeovers.
So we're looking at Monday Night Raw, Tuesday. What?
It's a Hall of Fame.
Oh.
We're going to talk about that in a bit because there was
That's
a huge announcement.
Well, that's kind of interesting because usually that's the night before a WrestleMania deal. Obviously, a little bit different this year. Two classes there. It looks like they're going to end up doing this year. So, yeah, I guess it makes sense kind of do it maybe the way they're going to do it. Wednesday is going to be the first day of this NXT deal. I guess that makes sense. And then you kind of get a little tune-up in there with the Peacock app. That would be the first thing. We haven't had some on Peacock yet, right?
Fastlane will be on Peacock. Not exclusively. It'll still be on the network, I believe.
I think that's going to be the one that's on both.
Yes, but then after that, you do have to switch to Peacock, and we'll talk more about that because there's going to be a huge transition process. It's not as smooth as I think it was originally intended. So we'll talk about that.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk more about that, too.
Friday Night SmackDown, of course.
Friday Night SmackDown.
Saturday is night 1 of WrestleMania, and then Sunday is night 2 of WrestleMania, and then of course we even got Raw the next night. So it's the first full WrestleMania week where every day there is a show WWE is producing.
I mean, yeah, that's it. That's like 8 hours of 8 days
content back to back to back,
filming and content. Oof.
We've got to talk.
And we'll be here every day that week. With
no, we won't. But I'm gonna try and get a couple days off so we can potentially do some stuff at least on the Twitter side. Maybe Periscopes, or I know Periscope isn't a thing anymore, but Twitter or Instagram Live or whatever. We'll figure it out. We do got to cover some stuff.
Okay. No, yeah. I mean, there's gonna be a lot going on that week. We'll plan that out and we'll get back to you guys. Anyways, a busy week ahead. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I mean, when you put it that way, it sounds a little bit better than when you first said, oh, they're just going to do a 2-day thing. And it just seems like it's not really a money grab, but it's kind of like this need to try and use Peacock right away or something. So, all right. It sounds a little better. I can kind of.
It's WrestleMania week. It's WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's fine. If it's WrestleMania week, that's fine. If you did that any other week, I'd think you're crazy, but okay.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Let's get into some.
Sorry.
We'll do NXT first, and then we'll get to the Hall of Fame stuff. And yes.
Well, I was just wondering if we were going to talk a little bit about the tag team stuff. I won't spend too long.
The tag team title match.
Well, yeah. Well, I was going to say, is it kind of weird that they gave them the title after they lost?
So.
But
they were cheated.
What are you going to do? Have another tournament?
They were cheated last week. So I don't know if we talked about it on last week's show when they faced Shayna and Nia. I don't think we did. I think
because it was going.
It was going as we were recording. That's why I wanted to wait until after it finished today so we could talk about it. But basically, Adam Pearce, WWE official, had sent in a Raw referee when the NXT referee was knocked out, and essentially Raquel Gonzalez, who was the legal person, I believe, was not the person that got pinned. So technically, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez they lost, but they weren't. It wasn't like a legal loss technically. Okay. So William Regal made the announcement. He was going to make a major announcement this week. New tag team titles, of course, and he basically crowned Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez as champions, the inaugural champions. I mean, it kind of makes sense considering they were the first women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic winners. So, I mean, that's fine. We'll get into what happened with those titles in just a few minutes. But let's kick it off with it started off with the NXT Women's Championship match between Io Shirai defending against Toni Storm. Of course, they have met a few times before. The first encounter on WWE television was the Mae Young Classic, where Toni Storm defeated Io Shirai in the finals to win that whole tournament. Of course, they met a few weeks ago at TakeOver in that triple threat match at Vengeance Day. However, Io Shirai pulled out the victory in a very solid match. Great effort from both competitors. Great way to kickstart it's WrestleMania season. It's, I guess, TakeOver season for NXT. And so really looking forward to what they're doing with the NXT women's division, especially in the next month, especially since we got those tag titles now. But it was a really solid match. So go check it out if you haven't. This was a really solid episode of NXT. I think from top to bottom.
They're going to need it. We'll get into the numbers later, but Jesus, they're going to need it.
We'll talk about numbers. We'll definitely talk about numbers. But let's talk about the next match was Pete Dunne versus Jake Atlas. I mean, this was just a way kind of to show Pete Dunne's dominance as a competitor. Jake Atlas did give a good effort. A solid kind of grappling match. But Pete Dunne called out anyone and, everyone who's willing to face him. So that might end up being a takeover match at some point, potentially. Like I said, 2 nights, so they do have to fill up some spots. So that could be a singles match waiting to happen there. Next up, we did have that NXT Women's Championship tag team match between Ember Moon, Shotzi Blackheart, taking on the champions, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. I thought this was stronger than their match at Vengeance Day because that's the match, they were in the finals for the Dusty Cup. I thought this was a lot smoother, fun to watch. All 4 competitors are great at what they do. And in a shocking finish, we got new women's tag team champions. That's right, Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon they're the tag team champions. They're the NXT tag team champions. Some mixed reactions on social media, but
I knew you were going to say that.
What?
That they lost the titles. That's so stupid. Okay.
It kind of sucks, but at the same time, like, it's a nice surprise. They shake things up a little bit.
Okay, what was the finish? Was it a straight finish?
It was a roll-up. So Miss Dakota Kai accidentally ran into Raquel Gonzalez after she was pushed by Shotzi. And then she rolled her up to get the victory. So it wasn't like...
I don't like it.
Why don't you like it, James?
Because that's too predictable. I mean, they do that with every...
It wasn't predictable, though.
Every Dusty Cup champion other than the Authors of Pain have split. I mean, they didn't do anything after. But any other tag team after that has broken up. Have they not?
They have not split.
But this is the beginning.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe not.
Okay, so you have 2 championship matches and you lost. Whatever the finish, whatever the scenario, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong referee or not. There has to be frustration there in this storyline going forward. You won, whatever. Now it's going to be whose fault was it? Who ate the pin both times? Was it the same person?
Dakota Kai, technically.
On both of them?
Last week, she wasn't the legal competitor, so it wasn't her fault.
But was she the one who got pinned?
Technically, yes. But
okay. Get pinned
no,
tonight?
I am not saying they're going to split because I think there's something else happening, which we'll get to in a little bit. I said it was a packed episode. There's more stuff happening. I said, solid episode. You gotta go back and watch it. Good match though. Great effort. I'm not disappointed. Although I am a big Raquel and Dakota Kai fan, I'm not too disappointed about it. We'll see where it goes from there. Rob just stated that he knew Shotzi was going to get gold. Speaking of that, I knew another tag team that was going to get gold, which we didn't talk about, over in NXT UK, the team of Pretty Deadly, who I predicted would be tag team champions by the end of the year. They won those tag titles a couple weeks back. So congratulations to them. Of course, I need to catch up on my NXT UK, but there's more NXT UK news we'll get to in a little bit, which also happened on this show. So,
okay.
Told you there was a lot.
Okay, so wait. So the boys who were running with Pete Dunne lost the belts?
No.
UK?
They're still tag champions. They're still the NXT UK tag team.
Okay. They're okay.
The other show, yeah. The other show.
No, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Although they might be on borrowed time. The NXT tag team champions might be on borrowed time. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
There was
so much going on.
I'm a little bit out of order here, but I'm just gonna keep going. We got a video. It was like a cameo. It wasn't a cameo style video, vlog style, at an airport from Jordan Devlin, who has been the cruiserweight champion over in NXT UK, saying, he likes the weather typically around, he's liked the weather in Ireland for a while, but this time of year, he said he likes a change of scenery. And he officially announced next week he will be coming to NXT. He's bringing the Cruiserweight Championship, and he called out Pablo Escobar. Santos.
Pablo Escobar.
He called them out. He called out Santos Escobar, who has been the Cruiserweight champion here on NXT USA, I guess. And so champion versus champion match potentially at TakeOver. It looks like we might be getting that to find out the true Cruiserweight champion here. But I'm looking forward to it.
That's a good little storyline that's been building up for a while. So nice to see him kind of pay that off at the biggest event of the year for them. Yeah.
Basically a year since Jordan hasn't been able to come to the States. So, so that's great. Great for him. I'm glad we're going to finally get a singular Cruiserweight champion, and looking forward to their match that they're eventually going to have. We also got Xia Li taking on Kaden Carter, continuing that storyline that's kind of been going on for the few weeks. That match ended in no contest after some involvement by Casey Catanzaro, kind of making the save for her friend. And so that's leading to something, of course, that kind of nice little side storyline in the women's division is good to have. We also got an announcement that next week it will be Dexter Lumis taking on Austin Theory. Austin Theory went to therapy last week after being kidnapped by Lumis. But so that was a nice little moment there. All right, so Rob disappeared. Our timekeeper, where is he at? Is it time, Rob? We got a minute? Look at him disappearing. Unprofessional, Rob. Unprofessional here. It's all good. But then we got some other news that next week we're going to get the in-ring debut of James's favorite wrestler. That's right, I'm talking about L.A. Knight. Say it with me, James.
No, that's so dumb.
You're such a hater.
La Knight?
L.A. Knight.
La Knight.
L.A. Knight. Come on, say it, Rob.
Knight.
Well, will he at least get a Spanish manager just so he could be like, La Noche?
No, not La Noche.
Then what?
Is that how you say night?
Like a night, not night, like day and night. No, it's.
I don't know how you say that then in Spanish. I didn't take that much class.
Well, it looks like we might be getting LA Knight versus Bronson Reed in the first match. So that should be a fun match. That should be a good match. LA Knight did cost Reed his match against Cameron Grimes last week. So that's going to be a good story moving forward there. So then we got into our main event. Finn Balor taking on Adam Cole, baby. And we'll talk about that.
Adam Cole, baby.
Look at that. James is just in a bad mood here tonight.
No, I'm just. We're going to Adam Cole the next segment. He's not that good.
We'll be right back after this break. We are 22 West Radio. 22 West Radio is 22westmedia.com and 88.1 FM KKJZ HD3 Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back to episode 133 of Beyond the Ropes. I'm your host, Ethan, written alongside the analyst, James Williams, and of course, producer Rob Flores. Of course, we're doing this remotely via Zoom. So thank you for tuning in. Hopefully everyone is staying safe, staying at home if you can. If you're out and about, hopefully you're getting your vaccination soon. But make sure you're staying safe, wearing your mask and all that stuff. Social distancing. Rob turned over to the dark side earlier today than usual. Usually he waits for the third segment, but I guess he's already turning heel for the night. But don't worry, I'll turn heel a little bit later. I'll turn heel a little heel later.
He's doing this great little face, like just so smug, like he has some trick up his sleeve or something. Just reminds me of Paul Bear, like something's going
Paul
on.
Bear, that's great. All right, let's
right
finish the latest NXT episode.
Like just the way he's holding the title. Oh yes. Tell me he doesn't look like Paul Bear right now doing that.
A little bit. He is, yes.
Oh my God.
Stop.
Go watch the YouTube video, episode 133. Beginning of the second segment. I don't know. Great
Watch
stuff.
it from the beginning because we've got a whole lot of stuff to talk about. Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Finn Balor versus, of course, perhaps the greatest NXT champion of all time, Adam Cole, baby. This was a stellar match.
No.
These two, continuously put on great matches. I mean, I don't know what there is to say about this match that hasn't been said already about like what they do in the ring. Just go watch it. Of course, toward the end of the match, a ghost from Adam Cole's past came out. I'm talking about Kyle O'Reilly, looking cool because he's cool Kyle.
I was gonna say, are you even gonna say anything good about him, or is he old news too?
I mean, he was wearing, a jean kind of vest and wearing a Metallica shirt, so he was cool Kyle tonight, with his mohawk and everything, looking all rocker here. He distracted Adam Cole enough for Finn Balor to hit 1916 on the outside, and then hit that coup de grace to get the win over Adam. Then we got to see kind of a little brawl between Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. Looks like we're getting that at TakeOver. I mean, There's one of your matches there. After that happened, they kind of went to the back. Finn Balor standing in the middle of the ring, and he kind of feels a presence, and he asks, "What took you so long?" Turns around, and he's face to face with Karrion Kross. So it looks like we got our TakeOver main event there. I don't know. We've got like 5 or 6 matches already confirmed for me for TakeOver, as far as I know.
And this is still a month.
We got a month to go. I believe 4 weeks out, maybe. April 6th and 7th, if I'm not mistaken. 8, 9,
okay.
7, 8,
something
like that. So a stacked episode of NXT. If you have not seen it yet, go back and watch it. But let's talk about their competition.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you want to talk about competition, that's putting it lightly. I mean, you really did need a strong show based on, and that's what's on NXT, because they were down pretty bad in the ratings last week.
Mm-hmm.
NXT 692,000 compared to AEW's 934,000. That's like close to 200,000. That's just looking at the numbers on paper. That's pretty big.
Did you see who was on the show?
Huh?
Did you see who was on the show though?
For AEW?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you can say they had a big show of their own last week.
They did, and they also had a big check on their show. Shaq wrestled against Cody in the tag match, and he went through a table
with the table spot. That's right. That's right. So I mean, yeah. So it was a pretty big showing for sure. They it was the go home show going into the pay-per-view as well, right?
AEW which we'll talk about.
They also teased a new another big signing that we'll mention here in a little bit. However they work the ratings and what's taken into account. Obviously, when you get news and get wind of things like that, obviously that's going to help the ratings out. So what they did on the AEW side obviously worked because it shows in the ratings. We'll see maybe if it's a little bit closer this next time around. And what this is honestly too maybe the first this is like that first week since they announced they were moving, or have we known for?
We'll talk about that right now.
Okay.
Right. There's some news. I don't know exactly what's going on there, but we'll talk about Revolution first quickly. I'm not paying $50 for an AEW pay-per-view, so I didn't see it. I know you guys didn't see it. I did listen to Jim Cornette's podcast because he likes to give some reviews on what they're doing.
To break down the matches.
He broke down. I think I listened to every one they put up on YouTube. They put them up today, and of course his thoughts were he pretty much hated everything, which is typical, which is on par with Cornette stuff.
Right.
Jericho and MJF took on the Young Bucks in a match that I believe he said that took too long, which makes sense because watching AEW, a lot of their matches go very long on their weekly shows. But it looks like they didn't end up winning those tag titles, and there was a potential rumor of some type of split tonight, but I don't know what happened with that. Of course, I believe there was a brass ring ladder match, or there were so many memes with like Sonic the Hedgehog because it looked like one of the rings from the game.
Right.
Scorpio Sky, I believe, won that match. It was a ladder match, and we got to see the debut of Ethan Page, who was formerly on Impact Wrestling. And then we did get to see, I guess we'll save the new signee for a couple of minutes from now. But we can talk about the main event, which was the barbed wire massacre, or I don't even know what they called it. It was a barbed wire match with explosives that were supposed to go off between AEW World Champion Kenny Omega and challenger Jon Moxley. I know they used a bunch of barbed wire. I know they used like bats and chairs and covered in barbed wire and all that. I think the Good Brothers got involved at some point, and then so the finish resulted in Kenny retaining the title thanks to some assistance. I believe he hit the one-winged angel, which is his finish, on Moxley through a chair to get the victory. And so I believe the whole purpose of the match was at the end of the match there was going to be an exploding ring or something like that, to that effect. We got to see Eddie Kingston, who is obviously good friends with Jon Moxley despite their past year where they kind of fought each other. It was meant to be a good moment where he kind of covered Moxley's body trying to the announcers were building up, this video footage was out. The announcers were building up this explosion as if the whole building was going to explode or something.
And they had a timer too, right? Counting down.
They were counting down, I think the last minute or something. That's when you see kind of Eddie Kingston covering or putting his body over Moxley to shield him from this giant explosion. And then, you know what we got? We got some sparklers in the corners and one like explosion on the side of the ring. And that was that. And we got to see Eddie Kingston pass out. I don't know why he passed out. Maybe he had a heart attack or a stroke. I mean, I don't know what happened. I know there were a bunch of fans that were upset. They were booing. It was a big letdown to close the show, which is a shame for them, I guess. But Tony Khan, I know, tried to explain it, saying it was Kenny's explosives that didn't work or whatever, which probably is the best take. I don't know. Should have just admitted it was wrong. I
mean, the match is supposed to be based off what those explosion death matches they used to do in Japan and all that with, I think Mick Foley and Terry Funk and them have been in several of those.
Mick Foley himself,
stuff like that. But
Mick Foley himself said,
what do you say about it?
Bit of like it happened to them, I think, too, in ECW or something. They did something similar and it didn't work out. He's like, the best thing to do is just admit, it messed up. It wasn't a good idea. Just move on. So
Yeah, but see, the thing is, it's just like, again, so there's that expectation, and I mean, so it almost, it's just kind of like, what is the need of that? Like, what?
They built it up.
Like, you know what I mean?
They built it up too much. It was too much.
Right. It's something you're building up where, again, you don't know if it's gonna work, or something can go wrong. You have to have something that's solid, bulletproof. Huh?
You have to rehearse that stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you gotta. I mean, you can't. I don't know. I mean, that stuff's gonna happen, but I mean, let alone however much money they put into that. But
I heard Cody got a bunch of fireworks. I kept seeing people mentioning Cody's entrance with all the pyro he has.
Oh, I think I might have heard something like that. So at first, I thought you were talking about the table spot he did.
No, it says entrance pyro, I think.
Okay.
Something I forgot to mention: Sting wrestled in a cinematic match, teaming with Darby Allin to take on Team Taz. Sting and Darby Allin won. I don't really know all the details, but it was a cinematic match, so it was what it was. Good for Sting. He got his match, I guess.
Yeah, but it just makes makes me think, like, is that what Sting is gonna be? I mean, are those the only kind of matches he can have?
Probably.
It's just kind of weird. I mean, it's kind of going off the idea with the Undertaker, and if it works, and if it works, then it works, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just kind of like, are those only Sting matches we're gonna get?
Thing with the Undertaker is he only had one cinematic match, then he retired. So
right. That's what I'm saying. How many times can you do this with Sting, or whatever the case is gonna be?
Someone we know is not going to be like Sting and have cinematic matches. Potentially, he can actually wrestle week in and week out, and there's a reason. He signed with AEW, the big signee, the Hall of Fame worthy signee, as announced by Tony Khan and I believe Big Show or Paul White. Christian Cage surprisingly signed with AEW, using his Impact Wrestling theme song, which is interesting. I mean, they're working together now. We'll talk about their relationship in a bit. But yeah, he made his entrance. He signed a contract and I believe walked away. I believe tonight there was some news coming out of Dynamite. So James, you want to give us that news?
Yeah, it looks like they some people on YouTube and whatnot mentioned that the way that they were hyping up what would now turn out to be Christian Cage's debut and the announcement, a lot of people actually thought just because the way it's being hyped up that Brock Lesnar or The Rock or someone was going to walk through that door. Obviously, we all knew that wasn't going to be the case, but when you hype it up like that, and I'm not saying Christian isn't worthy of it, but when you hype something up that much and it's not what you kind of think or want it to be or whatever,
it's gonna be a letdown.
It's gonna kind of be a letdown. If you would have just had Christian run into the ring during a match, so pretty much what's gonna happen now is based on tonight's episode of AEW from the night we're filming this, is Kenny Omega and Christian Cage are gonna go one-on-one for the title. They've started that storyline. Why couldn't you just have Christian get involved in the match with Kenny Omega and during that pay-per-view and announce it that way? Why do you what changed from Christian just showing up when he did to not being interfering in that match?
I think they just wanted pay-per-view buys, honestly.
Yeah.
They don't have the luxury of the network, the WWE network, where
right.
It's $5 or whatever. Anyone can watch it. So they need to get pay-per-view views, and I know people were predicting Punk, Lesnar, Angle even teased himself, but he was promoting his podcast.
So I mean, you make a good point there. But even then, now looking back at it, hindsight 2020, whatever. you kind of had two moves that went against you in a way. You know what I mean? I mean, in a way. I mean, you can look at it that way with the way the fireworks didn't turn out, and then with the way you hype up Christian, and it again, very excited for Christian. I think he deserves it. If he's cleared and he can get back in the ring, good for him. Obviously, you know, him being in the Royal Rumble with Edge, seeing his best friend Edge go through his process, getting back in the ring. You know, Christian wanted to get involved, and it just leads you to wonder what went wrong in WWE with Christian. Did they not want to go forward? I believe Christian may have spoke on a podcast or did some things today, but I haven't had a chance to listen to that. But you know, did they not have anything for him? Obviously, there could have been something, and they, you know, they had that with the Royal Rumble. Go ahead, Ethan. What do you have?
He was on a podcast, Renee Paquette's Oral Sessions podcast. Of course, she is formerly Renee Young in WWE, the wife of Jon Moxley. In the podcast, in the interview, I didn't watch it or read a whole lot, but I got some clips from it, basically saying it was Jon Moxley who reached out to Christian, telling him, you know, to come over to AEW. Obviously, it seemed like there was probably nothing major planned for him in WWE at the moment, but he seemed like he was very eager to get back in the ring because he felt like he still had a bunch to offer, and he felt that AEW's roster is very young and he can help them out. So he seemed very excited. Looks like we're going to get a full-time Christian Cage, and we're not going to see him in the Hall of Fame anytime soon. I'm very disappointed in the sense that Royal Rumble moment may have been the last time we'll see Edge and Christian in the ring together against each other or as a team.
Yeah, but I think if that's the moment we get, I think that's a good moment considering the circumstances. I mean, but again, I feel like I'm forgetting what else may have been, but I feel like we just had something like this recently where we see it might have even been the Big Show with the WrestleMania and maybe even something soon, or the Legends Night, where you have them on there and it's almost like they kind of know they're gonna go, so they try to get one last thing out of them in a way. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong with the Royal Rumble spot, and then the next thing you know,
it kind of came out of nowhere. It was definitely a shocker. We'll talk more about it when we return, but right now we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about the Hall of Fame, something Christian is not going to be a part of anytime soon.
Well,
we are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 80.1 FM KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back to episode 133 of Beyond the Ropes. I'm your host, Ethan, joined alongside the analyst, James Williams, and of course, producer Rob Flores, who's very awkwardly touching that title. But of course, we are doing this virtually via Zoom. Thank you for tuning in. Of course, we are on 22S Radio as well. So thank you for listening to us. And if you're on YouTube, just search up Beyond the Ropes. We got plenty to talk about in this last segment. So let's continue talking about that traitor, that snake, Christian Cage. Go ahead, James.
I thought you were talking about Adam Cole at first. No.
That's God. He's a nice.
Lord. No. With Christian though, I mean, again, it kind of reminds me of the Daniel Bryan thing. It kind of reminds me of, you know, Paige has kind of been teasing this whole thing of She-Hopes. What was it? We had Edge and Daniel Bryan segment not too long ago on SmackDown. There was that photo that Paige tweeted saying, one day maybe that's her, you know, maybe thinking her career's not done and she's still young enough to where she could still have a career in the ring at some point, maybe based on her health. But, you know, with Christian, part of me wonders if maybe they didn't want to take the risk. They weren't sure. What was his deal? His deal was the concussions too, right? So I think with Christian, I mean, he was in the Royal Rumble, so it's not like they didn't know he was already cleared then. And maybe that, like you mentioned, Dean Ambrose or Jon Moxley, as he's going by now in AEW, was the one who reached out to Christian. You know, and maybe Jon Moxley had that in mind, saying, hey, if Christian can compete in the Royal Rumble, that means he's cleared. You know, if his contract runs out, therefore after, whatever, well, yeah, of course, reach out to him, see if he wants to be a part of it. I think it's a good move for Christian in a way. You know, even though they're you can't say there was nothing there at WWE for him, considering the run he's having with Edge, considering that Edge is going to be in the title match at WrestleMania, probably going to win it. You know, you could have done more. You can after the world title run, he can do a tag run or something with Edge. There's, you know, Rob mentioned during the break, Billy Gunn and Road Dogg had a tag title run. Well, that's probably been 5 years now, but you could have done it.
Money probably played a factor in as well. I'm sure Tony Khan brought out his checkbook and paid Christian nicely. Something I'm sure WWE at this point is not willing to do with every guy who's already toward the end of their career. Obviously, Big Show, Paul White, wasn't happy with whatever contract they were going to offer him, whether he was going to wrestle or not. So he made his way over to AEW and is sure making good money there. I'm sure Christian took that into account as well. And plus, WWE may not have wanted Christian to wrestle full time. Maybe they didn't have plans. It might not have been his fault. It could have just been a Vince saying, "We're not going to use you. I mean, you're a legend at this point. It's a one-time thing at the Rumble. You know, could have been that."
Well, and that's part of it, because it's almost for Christian, it's a now or never thing. I mean,
you're not getting younger.
You know, you're not getting any younger. I mean, there's guys like Sting who can do that, but I mean, at this point, you're having cinematic matches or whatever. You know, Christian's a wrestler's wrestler when it comes in the ring stuff. You know, you know, and he's you know, highly respected for what he's been able to do and being the worker that he is. Clearly an underrated talent, that's for sure. But what do we think, boys? Are we, you know, I almost think maybe we can point at this moment. Maybe it's not an issue now. Maybe it's, you know, whatever. Everything seems great and rosy and whatnot. And we've seen these things before, not only in wrestling, but in life and in general, where things look good, but 2 or 3 years down the road, how did the money play out? Where did the money go? Isn't that kind of what happened with WCW on the same show, on the same network that they're on now? Not that TNA's really, or TNT's in the mix like they were back in the day with Nitro, but when you're signing guys now left and right, you know, these big name talents, you know, who are you? What are you doing? I mean, you had a guy like Moxley you gave money to, Jericho. Obviously, these are all WWE guys, but more or less all well-established guys. You know, Big Show, you know, Billy Gunn's there. I don't know how much money Billy Gunn's really making, but now you got Christian. You're signing 2 guys in Christian and Big Show right off the bat at the same time. You just got done signing Sting not that long ago. You know, and I wouldn't be surprised if you do see someone like Kurt Angle in there in a match, you know, next year or something. Because why not? I mean, you might as well. But
Jim Cornette made the interesting note in one of his reviews on YouTube. They keep hiring guys, but they're not cutting anyone. No one's been really fired except the 1 or 2 people that they had because of the whole speak out movement last year when, you know, all the allegations were going out.
Right.
No one's been fired from AEW, really. And so you mentioned you're hiring all these guys, you're paying all these guys, I'm sure, a lot of money to come over to AEW, leaving a comfortable position in WWE. And I mean, are the rating, you know, we talk about ratings every week. They don't really matter. Ratings are going down with everything, not just wrestling. It's just a whole downward spiral. Everyone's streaming now.
Right.
And so, yeah, eventually AEW is going to have to make some decisions here, but we'll talk more.
But how many of those guys are you going to have to get rid of? I mean, for a lot of guys on the AEW roster, maybe I'm wrong, but a lot of these guys are coming up from the indies, coming up from smaller promotions, and maybe they're not getting paid as much because this really is their first time with a bigger company. So how many of those guys are you going to have to cut to match whatever Christian's making, or what Sting is making? It makes me curious, though, too, about Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. I'm sure they were involved and had plenty of talks with AEW, I would think, but they went with Impact. So and maybe that's reading too much into it. Whatever. I think maybe they just like the schedule better or whatever. But I mean, if it was about money, I'm sure. How would they have not thrown money at Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson? At the time when they were free agents or whatnot. I mean, those are pretty decent names. Not that they're making Christian or Big Show money, I think, but still, I mean,
Well, let's talk about Impact a little bit. We got
Impact
to discuss. Leading into the rumors that Impact might be bought out by AEW very soon, as you predicted, would happen at the end of the year or by the end of this year. Current champion, what's his name, Rich Swann, will defend.
Did you just say what's his name, Rich Swann? What is wrong with you?
Nobody treats him as a real champion. He's been buried since.
That's right. Since the whole partnership thing.
Since the whole partnership thing, and he's defending the title against Moose. I believe this Saturday, as we're recording this, it would already happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the winner will face Kenny Omega in a champion versus champion match where the winner gets both titles. AEW is going to own Impact by the end of the year. So that's totally happening because they're burying Impact Wrestling's champion right now.
Well, see, I mean, so that's the thing. And again, so if you're going to absorb all that, those contracts and stuff too, and I was going to say there's going to be so many guys left over from this. There's going to have to be another organization for the challenge. But if you're losing the Impact, that would have been the other organization.
Rob is asking why Jay Lethal is so comfy with Ring of Honor. I don't know. It's
because he's not in this mess.
He's not in this mess, exactly. He's comfortable there. Probably making good money. He's the face of that company, probably.
He's the face. He's the face of the company, and the reason that you're asking why is he so comfortable is exactly why he's comfortable, because there's no doubt he is the top guy or one of the top guys there, and he doesn't have to worry about his spot or where he's at or whatever, and he can do one hell of a Macho Man impression.
Well, yeah, but I mean, look at the other guys. They were able to take turns with also balancing New Japan on the side.
New Japan, they're not working with New Japan anymore. It looks like they're working with AEW. New Japan is. So I don't know. AEW's got all these partnerships, so they're going to own one of those companies eventually, and Impact seems to be like the first one to go. So moving on, we got to move on. Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame was officially announced as we're recording this morning on The Bump, which is WWE's YouTube kind of morning talk show, that Molly Holly would be the first inductee into this year's WWE Hall of Fame class of 2021. It was also revealed that both classes, last year's class of 2020 and this year's class, will be inducted in the same night, Tuesday, WrestleMania week. No, Rob, she's going in as Molly Holly, although it was revealed to her by Shane Helms that she would be going into the Hall of Fame. So good for Molly Holly. She, well deserved. And we're getting that Hall of Fame special exclusively on Peacock, James. That's right. Peacock gets more content.
More content. They're getting some content. We'll get into that later too. So was it just was it a shock to her? Wasn't she got the call deal, or had she already gotten the call? Because the way they even advertised Molly Holly on the app notification mentioned I don't think anything about the Hall of Fame.
It was revealed to her on the show by Shane Helms. They were, I guess, doing an interview together, and she seemed pretty surprised. And
that was the first she heard of it.
Yeah, so they both got pretty emotional, which is a nice scene. It's on Twitter. Go check it out. But yeah, it was an announcement to her. So both classes will be inducted on Peacock on Tuesday, WrestleMania week. Speaking of Peacock, NBC might be not moving NXT. I don't know. That still may happen. We talked about NXT last week potentially moving to Tuesdays. It's been rumored for a little bit. because of a potential NHL happening on USA Network on Wednesdays. But I was reading earlier today, NHL is going back to ESPN. So a potential deal there. I don't know if that changes anything with NBC deal or not. Potentially.
Just hearing that for the first time, I don't think so, because usually things like that don't happen mid-season. So we may still get that
switch.
But things yeah, we can still get the switch, but something could still happen. I mean, because as we were kind of talking about last week, and even then you were very careful about making sure that was just confirmed. A report, I think, and it wasn't official, right?
It still has not been confirmed by anyone.
Right.
So I don't want to just say, yeah, they're moving to Tuesdays. We still have to be careful about that. But yeah, I mean, I saw that earlier that NHL and ESPN had, I mean, there was speculation. I don't know. It could just be false. But you normally don't see that in, like, sports like that where they throw out that kind of announcement there. And it's,
yeah. False. That might be for a year or two down the road potentially, but it's still an interesting note. And again, that hasn't been confirmed. The NXT to Tuesday. Yeah. Maybe they're just trying to get rid of Adam Cole's contract or something before they make a move like that. But
let's talk more about Peacock then.
Yeah.
The move is not going to be so easy. Originally, I think we all predicted or kind of speculated or assumed that the network subscribers were going to be transitioned over to Peacock automatically.
I heard I got to do a little extra work, huh?
We got to sign up for Peacock. We got to do that on our own, which is going to be interesting. How many people are going to? Right. I mean, if you want to watch WrestleMania, I guess you have to.
Right. Which is probably why they're okay doing this.
Right, and with all that exclusive content on Peacock, the Hall of Fame, Takeover, you're going to kind of have to get that. Some other news, not everything from the network is automatically going to be transferred over to Peacock right away. Right. It said between now and SummerSlam, which is August, they will ideally have mostly everything or everything they should, but who knows? I mean, they could keep some stuff that may be less popular. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look at how long it takes to upload a YouTube video. I mean, it takes a while, so maybe there's a lot of stuff they'd have to upload on there. So, I can totally understand why it would take till August to get everything on there. But I think at the same time, it's like, it might, I mean, I'll do it. I'll sign up for it. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, if all the stuff's not on there. I mean, it's gonna work out. You're gonna get your money's worth either way, because what if you wait till August, whatever, let's say that's 5 months or whatever from now. I mean, that still only would be not even $50, because the price is supposed to go down, right? So
if you want,
even if I waited that long, it's not even gonna be $50, which is what WrestleMania would normally. It probably costs them more than 50, but
yeah. So I mean, if you want the standard subscription, it would be $5 a month. That includes ads. However, if you don't want ads, $10 a month, which what you're paying now for the network, anyways. But yeah, so that pretty much wraps up most of what I wanted to talk about. I forgot if there was something else.
Yeah, there's some quick hits that I got here that we can kind of run through. Apparently, WWE has banned the leg thigh slapping that we normally,
Why was Adam Cole doing it throughout the match though tonight?
Because he knows he's about to get released.
No, don't say that. How could you, sir?
Cool Kyle's gonna run him out of town. We talked a little bit about Peacock already, but word going around on the Twitter webs is that Peacock lost $914 million after its first year. Obviously, spending a lot of money getting the WWE content and several other things. Obviously, when you're making a jump like this, that you're going to lose some money up front at the beginning. I think that's what happened with Quibi or whatever those other ones were, and then they don't even survive the first year. But just a big number that stands out there, $914 million as a first year loss, according to the Twitter webs. I think what is it, Variety, which is like an entertainment outlet, reported that. We talked about Molly Holly getting into the Hall of Fame. Good for her. I thought she might have already been in the Hall of Fame. I think she's done quite a few intros or inducting of other people, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we do have Fastlane happening this weekend. Something I completely forgot. However, of course, we'll just give our predictions on social media. I'll ask you guys for that when that happens and everything.
Oh, and yeah, we'll talk about Fastlane later. We need to talk very quickly and get this in. Peyton Royce was gonna get the rocket put on her back, and she's gonna beat Asuka 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. I don't know when, but it's bound to happen. A great promo by her. I think that was the Raw after show.
Raw Talk.
Raw Talk, and it had the locker room, at least a lot of the women. I saw some tweets from the other women's wrestlers giving praise to Peyton Royce and the promo she had. Also, Soldier Boy was on Twitch, just to follow up with that storyline. Soldier Boy was on Twitch. Wasn't very thrilled with the words. A lot I can't say, but wasn't very thrilled with the words from Randy Orton, and isn't willing to wrestle someone who wrestles in a leather thong.
Oh, jeez. All right.
Yep.
Which is funny. Who's naming all the real wrestlers are Austin and Rock, which are both wearing also short.
Right. And a lot of people are influenced by those guys. Those guys are apparently not fake, but everyone else is. But he also likes the Hardy Boys. He also likes the Dudley Boys.
Right.
He also likes.
All right. Enough, Soldier Boy. That's enough. That's 5 seconds of fame for him. That's enough. Let's talk about our tribal chief, Roman Reigns. He was great, as always. Anyway, that's it for today's episode of Beyond the Ropes. Thank you for tuning in.
We need to talk about Bobby Lashley.
Bobby Lashley.
The title.
Lashley. Let's talk about Roman Reigns. We'll talk more on next week's episode Beyond the Ropes. It has been absolutely too sweet.
No title for Adam Cole.